Hey everybody, welcome to Drive Thru Review 124. Today I'm going to talk about Hanabi. This is a game from Antoine Bauza, the guy who made Seven Wonders. Now this version that I have is an older version. I believe this is from last year. This is actually from French version, but it is getting reprinted this year by Abacus Spiel 2012. At least I believe that's the plan. I'm not sure if that's 100%. Now I played this at Gen Con this year, 2012. And I can say this is easily my favorite game that I played at the con. I was wandering around late at night, and it was the last night of the con, and I ran into a guy that I've ran into a few times on Board Game Geek, Chris Schreiber, and we'd actually bumped into each other at the con, and he was hanging out late, and he was playing this game with Seth Jaffe, a guy that he works for Tasty Mitchell, did Eminent Domain, a couple other games, and then a gal named Naomi. And it was late, super late. It was after midnight, and we just chatted a little bit, and then we got to playing this, and we played it 2 or 3 times, I believe. And then the myth goes so far with some of the threads that are on Gen Con, you could probably find it, that Seth and Naomi, at least, I don't know if Chris was involved that much, they played for probably another 9 or 10 hours until they beat the game perfect. So this is a co-op game. It has a very interesting sort of dynamic that will form within the group. And it's very simple. You just play cards and you kind of try to guess what cards you have, because you cannot see your own cards, but you can see everybody else's cards. And you're allowed to give clues and hints to the other players, but you can never look at your own cards. And so what you do when you actually have to play a card, because there's a certain order you have to play the cards, and I'll explain the mechanics here in a second, but you've got to make sure that you're playing the right card even though you can't see it. So there's a strange dynamic that takes place, and I played this with them at the Gen Con. I'd never met them before in person, just Chris briefly like the day before, and I've corresponded with some of them online just a little bit, but now I've brought the game back to my group here, and we absolutely loved it. And so there's a different sort of dynamic where even if you don't know the person, you sort of get this sort of telepathy kind of thing. I mean, I'm being sort of facetious here, but you kind of start to read body language and grunts and things like that to figure out what they're trying to tell you, and sort of the hidden meaning and reading between the lines and how they tell you things, and the sort of facial expressions and the little quirks and tics that people have. So let me show you how it works. Very, very simple, and then I'll come back and talk some more. Okay, now here's everything you get with the French version of the game here, and you can see it's a tin, and you get these stacks of square cards here. Now I know that the edition coming out now is going to be sort of your normal, typical shaped cards. Now with this version, the rules come on these cards here that are included with the game, but if you do get this version, you have to print the rules off on Board Game Geek. Now, in addition to the cards, you get these chips here, and these are clue chips. So when you give somebody a clue, you're going to have to take it out of there and spend it. Now, there is a way to get the clues back, but you're going to need to manage these clues and give smart clues so that you don't run out of these. And then anytime you make sort of a wrong guess, or you play a card incorrectly that's invalid or illegal, then you have to put one of these sort of damage markers in here. And if you ever get 3 in here, then the game immediately ends, and the whole team loses, and you don't score any points. The other way the game will end is if you go through this entire deck of cards, and then you're going to score, and you get sort of a certain amount of points in the game. And there's a point breakdown here, so based on the number of points that you get, you can kind of get an idea of how well you did. Now 25 points is basically perfect, but from what I've been told and sort of the consensus, of the people I played with, is basically you need to get over 20, and then you can feel pretty good about yourself. Because it is a card game, you can kind of get hosed with how you get dealt the cards, but you really want to strive to get above 20 points. Now this version here comes with these sort of bonus cards to make the game insanely hard. I guess this would be called impossible mode. I've never played with these, but this is sort of a new color where there's 1 of each number here, 1 through 5, and this is sort of like a multicolored color. But normally you have 5 different colors here, and you've got 1 through 5. Now you've got 3 1s, 2 2s, 2 3s, 2 4s, and 1 5 of each of these colors. So as I said, players will get a hand of cards. And that'll depend on the number of players. So in a 2 and 3 player game, each person will get 5 cards. In a 4 or 5 player game, each person will get 4 cards. So you're going to have these cards in your hand, but you're not going to see them. These are going to be facing away from you. And so it's kind of nice to have sort of a card rack or something along that line, and then you put them in like this, and so everybody can see them. But then you're going to be able to see everybody else's cards. So maybe this person's across the table from me, and then we'll have this guy over here on the right. And then we'll have this person on the left. Oops. And I've got my cards. Okay? And so what you can do on your turn is you can do a couple of things. The thing that you're going to be doing most of is giving clues. Now you can only give clues based on a number of a card or a color of a card. When I give a clue, I'll take the clue out, and then I'll maybe say to the person on my right here, these 3 cards are red. And so if you describe a color or number, you have to describe all the cards that match that. So if I were to tell the person on my left here, these 2 cards are a 1, that's what I would have to do. I could never say this card is a 1, or this card is a red, or this card is a green. You have to describe everything about that. So if I'm describing a number, I have to tell you all the cards that have that number. Or if I'm describing a color, I have to describe all the cards that have that color. So most of the time you're going to be, giving a clue, and then your clues are going to be dwindling here. And then the other thing that you can do is you can discard a card from your hand, and then you just put this in like a discard pile. And you have to declare, I'm discarding this or I'm playing it. And I'll talk about playing a card in a second. But if I discard a card like so, I'll get a clue back, and then I'll draw a card and put it back in my hand. Now the object of the game is to build the 5 stacks of fireworks, and that's what these cards represent, by the way, are fireworks, in order. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play a card. Let's see what my hand is here. Okay, I'm cheating, but I'm going to show you. So if I play a 1, that's great. I've got a 1. But now I need to play a 2 white. So I've got to play a 2. So I've got to play these in order. So through the clues and the guessing, you need to figure out which cards you have and which you don't have. So then I need to do a 3, and then a 4, and then a 5. And then so maybe I've got a pink stack here, 1, 2, let's see here, 3, 4, and then 5 on top of that. Now if I go to play a card that maybe is illegal, so let's look for a card. So I got a 3 here, and I guess maybe I thought this was a 5, and I go to play that, well that's no longer legal because I need to go in ascending order. Then I've got to throw one of these red chips in the bucket here, and we've taken a little bit of damage. Anytime you play a card again, you're going to draw a card off the stack, and you basically keep playing until you run through the deck, or you make 3 wrong guesses, and then if you, like I said, if you make 3 wrong guesses, then you lose. You basically get 0 points. If you run through the deck and you haven't filled up 5 stacks of 5, then you're going to count the points. Basically what you do is you count the top card of each of these stacks. So let me just lay these out here like this. So we got this 4, and then yellow here. Let's say that was the top card we've played. So we've got 5, 8, 16, and 19. So we would have scored 19 points. Whatever the top face-up card is what is going to count for our point total. And that's it. If you have all 5s, you have 25 points, and you scored perfect. Okay, I hope you enjoyed that overview. Now there's not a lot to the game. You're going to give clues. You're going to play cards. Hopefully you play them right. You're going to discard cards to get clues back. Hopefully you discard a card that you don't need. So if you discard a 5, then you're screwed because there's only 1 5 of each of those colors. So you never want to discard a 5. You've got to be careful. Now there are some techniques to the game to sort of help you along, and some things that you should sort of keep as guidelines as you play the game. So one thing that I was taught was basically keep all of your new cards coming in on your right. And so as cards kind of move out, then the cards on my left, I know they've been there a while. Nobody's given me any clues about them, so that, maybe they aren't really anything worth playing. And so the cards that are worth playing are usually the cards you want to give a clue about. So if I don't say anything about a card, it's probably not very important. And the other thing to keep in mind is that you want to be sort of responsible for the player to your left. Because if I don't give them anything to do, then we're going to go through our clues very quickly. And if I give them some nice clues, or at least maybe one other person to the left, and you can kind of combo up that way, and so that we have a good idea and kind of a nice rhythm of how the cards are being played. So, but the game is very tricky because it's very difficult to win. I think I'm trying to remember the last time I played at the Gen Con, we got like 21 or 22 points and did very well. And then a couple other times, like, you know, I was just learning the game, so I actually gave a clue twice. Somebody else had given a clue, but it had gone around several times. And basically the person already knew what I was telling them, and it was like immediately as I said it, I was like, oh crap, he already told them that. And so things like that. And the other thing is, it's kind of easy to cheat in a way, because you can't just not say anything at the game besides the clue. So you can say, you know, here's the 2 ones, here, these are three reds. But then you get kind of like, you know, somebody's kind of like is about to say something, or somebody will say like a half a sentence. He's like, you know, and then you kind of take on this role of, I know what you were going to say. You know, you get this sort of like collective state of the people at the card table. And it's very difficult to explain that. It's to somebody that hasn't played the game. But you get it, sort of these nuances in the body language, and like I was saying before, that really is very interesting. It's very fun, you know. And I've never had a game like that where, you know, it's sort of a collective deduction game where everybody is trying to deduce, but you know, you don't know what you have. Anyway, so it's a very bizarre game, and when this game gets reprinted this year, I would definitely check it out. It doesn't take very long to play. You can get this done in maybe 15 to 30 minutes, you know, depending on how bad the game goes and how sort of methodical people are and aware, and how much people are concentrating on the game. But it's a very unique experience. It's almost like not really, I wouldn't really call it a card game or a board game. It kind of makes that next step into, you know, that experience thing or whatever. It kind of in this otherworldly kind of thing. So anyway, check it out. I think it took them, it's sort of a legendary thing. I find it really hilarious that they spent like 9-10 hours trying to get the perfect score. And just it's a really great con game, because it's like, you know, you're at the thing and you just want to let your hair out and just sort of relax and have fun, and it's late at night and things like that. So it's got that really great filler thing that just kind of fills in that sort of other niche. So yeah, anyway, I'm going on too much and trying to explain something that I can't. So thanks.